You're looking for meaning and purpose in your work.
Hello? Hello?
We all are. Every year, Harvard Business School Executive Education helps executives like you reevaluate goals and develop both personally and professionally to turn their careers into their callings. Don't be different. Be changed. Go. Start by going to hbs.me/go. That's hbs.me/go.
It's time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online for all your web design needs at sonicwebstudios.com. The Mike Wagner Show brings you interesting people doing interesting things all across the globe. Now, let's get started on the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. Hey, it's Mike Wagner on the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios at sonicwebstudios.com. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your website needs. You can listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. You can also catch me on SoundCloud, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a popular New England comic who's bigger than the Patriots and the Red Sox combined. He's performed for causes like Comic Fear Cure, Laughter is the Best Medicine, appeared in numerous comedy clubs throughout the New England area. He's also served as a headliner for a number of famous acts. He's been on radio, TV, and he's also got a couple of podcasts we'll get into in just a minute. But right now, coming in from the Great Tea Party, Dennis Wirth. Dennis, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on the show, Mike. I'm psyched. I'm ready to make podcast history with you here today, coming out of New England where we got about 6 inches of snow outside. But if you're in the California wildfires, you'd be looking for the snow. So I'll put up with the snow. And, you know, we got the snow. We got the World Championship Red Sox. We got the World Championship Patriots. We got it all around here.
There you go. That's a beautiful thing, too. And, of course, we're up here in Bismarck, North Dakota. We got ourselves 4 inches, but of course, we don't have the Patriots or Red Sox. We've got other things going on. But let's talk about you, the Dennis Wirth Show, and of course, a couple of podcasts. You've been a New England comic for quite a number of years. You perform causes like Comics for Cure, Laughter is the Best Medicine. You've been on radio, TV. You also headlined for a number of famous acts. So first of all, before we get into that, tell us how you got started in comedy.
How did I get started in comedy? Yeah, well, I always loved watching comedy as a kid. I could sit home for the weekends, and Comedy Central, they'd have a marathon all weekend. I'd just sit here and eat chips and salsa and watch comedy all weekend. And I always wanted to try it. I never dreamed it would amount to anything, but I never knew how to get started. How do you get started in comedy? It's not like to put in a job application or something, so I never knew how to get started. And one day I got a pamphlet in the mail from the local college, and one of the night courses was Introduction to Stand-Up Comedy, and I was like, wow. I should try that. I've always wanted to do it. So I took the class figuring I'd look back years from now and say, I tried comedy. Well, I took the class and one thing led to another to another, and it took off for me, and I have had the ride of my life. It's one fun hobby.
And of course, you also performed for causes like Comics Fear Cure, Laughter is the Best Medicine. So tell us about the causes that you performed, and what are they? Yeah,
I mean, well, one of the biggest charges I get is helping people out. I mean, it's a win situation. When you can do what you love to do and help people out at the same time, that's a win-win. There's no losing in that situation. And a lot of the comics, they go the club scene where I have done the clubs, but I try to spend most of my time doing benefit shows to help people out because it's such a great cause. I've dealt with a lot of it. My sister grew up, she had muscular dystrophy growing up, and whenever she went to camp or something, the Jerry Lewis Telethon, they'd pay for it, and it was good to see that, people helping out like that, donating money. So I try to get involved with the charity side of it, and, every week there's a different cause, something will happen. Just last night I did a local show for a kid who got hit by a car. He was riding his bicycle, and he's going to be out for a long time, and we raised almost $5,000 for him last night. So, there's a lot of people who need help out there, and, I love to help, so that's the route I go.
Yes, that is a beautiful thing, too. And, of course, you've also headlined for a number of famous acts. So tell us about some of the headliners that you've you stood up for, and who are your favorite comics that you headlined for?
Well, the first big name, I had done a lot of local shows. The first big name was Steve Sweeney, who's the king of Boston comedy. He was one of Rodney Dangerfield's friends. He was in Back to School with him. He was in Something About Mary. He's been in a lot of big movies, and he was the guy who really, he gave me my break, because, I mean, I did a local television show, and it was tough to get the big stars on. Once he broke the ice, you know, I mean, the second person I went to, you want to be on my show? Well, who's done it? Well, Steve Sweeney did it. Oh, he did it? Yeah, I'll do it. So, you know, once Steve Sweeney gave me my break, it was kind of, that set the ball rolling for me. We've had Jimmy J.J. Walker from Good Times, Dynamite. If you remember him, yeah, he was a charge to work with. Jackie the Joke Man from the Howard Stern Show. We had on Stuttering John from the Howard Stern Show. Tom Cotter, he took second place in America's Got Talent one season. Local hero. Then the big one was I got to work with Lenny Clark recently, and that was Lenny. He's made it so big time. I mean, most comics, if they can get work and get paid, they'll take it. Well, Lenny gets so many offers, he can pick and choose who he wants to work with, and the fact that he chose to work with me, that was cool. I showed me, you know what, I'm doing something right here. If Lenny's choosing to work with me, I'm on the right path. So that was really cool to see.
Yeah, that's interesting too. And what are most of your jokes based on? Like your life or other people, events, or what do you mostly base your jokes on?
Yeah, you know, I took the class, and they said, you know, base it on the real-life stuff. They said the real-life stuff is, like, so much more funny than anything you could make up when you're telling a story, and it's true. And I was like, what do I know? And I'll tell you, I paid child support for 22 years, so I know all about paying child support. So we talked about it in the class, and I came up with my first routine was I was the child support superhero. And it's a whole routine about how I compare myself to Superman, how Superman's got it made, and the child support super ain't got the money to do much. But it's still my favorite routine to perform, and it still gets one of the best reactions from the crowd when I do it. And, you know, I try to spread awareness, too, as, you know, I'm an advocate for fathers' rights, where I truly believe children deserve both their parents equally. So while I'm doing what I love to do, I'm also getting a message across that, you know, kids really need both mom and dad.
Yes, that is very true. And also, another thing, if we'll get to your podcast and your show, we're talking about who would you say your biggest influence when it comes to comedy?
Growing up, without a doubt, it was Sam Kinison. And I mean, I loved watching comedy, but Sam had me laughing so hard, he inspired me to want to try it. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I probably would have watched comedy and never tried it. But he was so brutally honest, and he just took subjects you weren't supposed to talk about at the time, and he just talked about them. He made them hilarious. I mean, just the twist he had on things. And I said, you know, I got to make someone laugh that hard. As hard as he just made me laugh, I have to try and make someone laugh that hard. So I gave it a go, and years later, I'm still at it having a blast.
Sounds like you want to be a next Sam Kinison.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you can walk, you know, in your hero's footsteps for a while. I flew up to Alaska once, and I got to open for his best friend, Carl LeBove, who was Sam Kinison's opening act and best friend. And I mean, just to touch a hero's life like that. A few years later, I flew out to Vegas, and we took a road trip across the desert out to L.A. with some friends who knew his brother Bill, and I actually got to meet Sam's brother Bill, and he pulled out all of Sam's old coats and old guitars, and I mean, it was like visiting Graceland for me. I couldn't believe I was touching, you know, his life like that. It was, what a thrill.
Yeah, sounds like a thrill indeed. What do you consider your most favorite cities to perform in, and what are the most challenging? What's your most memorable moment when it comes to stand-up comedy?
New York's always a charge to play because, I mean, that's the biggest stage on earth, New York. You have Broadway or something like that. There's no bigger stage in the world. You know, like I said, when my sister was young and she needed to go to special needs camp, somebody sponsored her to go, and that's what got her out there. And I threw a benefit show one time. We raised enough money, and we sponsored another kid to go out there. So that was probably one of my best memories there. Certainly performing at Dangerfield's down in New York City. I mean, that was where Sam got his big break. Nobody knew who he was. Rodney put him on the special, and 6 minutes later, he was the hottest comic on the planet. So to hit the same stage as him, performed at the Gotham down there. That's one of the legendary comedy clubs in New York. So that was cool. Then one of my dreams, I mean, always the big stars. When I flew out to L.A., I got to perform at the Comedy Store. And, I mean, that's the legendary venue. That's where the Richard Pryors and the George Carlins and that's where they all came from. So to hit that stage, that was a moment.
And you also got your own comedy club, too, called Joke in a Box. So you can just tell us all about that. You seem to be big on it, according to your website.
Yeah, we do. I do Joke in the Box Comedy Club. We're out of Central Mass, was where I'm from, and I said, I could open up a comedy club in Boston and probably be like the 20th guy, or I can open up one in Central Mass and be the number one guy. So, I mean, I'm on a smaller stage than Boston, but I'm at the top of the hill out here where if you went to Boston, I probably would have been the 20th club on the hill. So.
Yeah, and of course, a great place to give people a break. And of course, speaking of that, we have about a few minutes or so with comedian Dennis Wirth out of the New England area. You also have a cast called Funny as a Clown. So just
Funny like a clown.
Tell us all about that. I would love to hear about your show.
Yeah, Funny Like a Clown podcast. Well, I did local TV for a while. I started out internet radio. I did internet radio for 6 years, which was cool because I had people tuning in from like Africa and Europe and just all over the world, and it was a cool thing. But, once the show's over, that's it. It's gone. You can't go back and relive the memories. Where a podcast, you can. So I left radio to do local television, and that was some of the most fun I ever had was doing television. It's a blast, but it's so much more work than people think it is doing television. I'd walk into a restaurant, and I was sitting there eating, and a Spanish lady walked in. She started screaming in Spanish, and she's pointing at me. She's like, "You TV, you TV!" She was thrilled as heck to meet me. So moments like that you remember. But in television, you're only as good as your crew. You need a camera guy, you need a sound guy, you need a director, you need this, you need that. So it's not just you and TV. You're only as good as your crew. And while I did have a good crew for a while, people move on, you lose people. It's tough to fill the positions. And, after a while, you get sick of begging people to help you out. So we wound down the television show, and I started a Funny Like a Clown podcast because that I can pretty much run myself. And we started to have comics on just discussing, who your favorite comic was. My friends in the comedy world, who their favorite mainstream comic was. And, I got my fans from the radio show. I got them from the TV show, and I got a pretty good following. So we're getting going here a few episodes deep, and I'm hoping to live up to what you're doing, Steve, to try and put on a good show for everybody.
We'll be back with more after this on The Mike Wagner Show. Hey everyone, it's Mike Wagner from The Mike Wagner Show. If you like what we play, if you love great guests, and enjoy lots of fun, then how'd you like to be a sponsor of my show? We're looking for businesses to be part of the great show and a great way to let people know about what you do. If you're a singer, writer, actor, author, or an interesting person with a great product and looking for exposure, you've come to the right place. Call me or text at 701-301-7705 or email to mike@themikewagnershow.com and I'll get you set up with the right sponsor package. Don't delay. Do it today. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blows the competition away. Call today at 800-303-3960 or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Now, back to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by sonicwebstudios.com. And of course, the name Funny as a Clown. How'd you come up with that phrase?
Well, that's from the Goodfellas, the old Joe Pesci phrase. What do you think? I'm funny, funny like a clown. I got big shoes. I got a nose. I'm here to amuse you. It was, I don't say, but it gave me instant recognition because everybody knows, that phrase from the movie. So, I mean, you hear funny like a clown, it's a phrase you're familiar with, so that gave me instant recognition rather than, I just always thought it was funny, that movie, so that part in the movie, so it seemed the obvious choice to name it.
Yeah, you might want to get the attention of Joe Pesci. You might want to start with a fight you on stage if you kept saying that.
In my career, Joe Pesci came along. Why not? We'll bring him on.
Of course, you had some guests on too, like the G-Man, Alan Gitlin. You had Carl Gottlieb from Jaws. You had Sandy Hellberg. So, just tell us about the comedians you had and who's probably your favorite guests you had on the program.
Well, we got those guys lined up. We haven't actually done the podcast yet. We got them all scheduled coming up soon here, so you can tune in. Check out my website, www.dennisworth.webs.com. There's a link there to all the podcasts. You can check them out as they go. But I'll tell you a funny story. The best one I've had on so far was I'm a big Sam Kinison fan, as I said, and I've collected his memorabilia. I probably spent around $10,000 collecting Sam stuff. I got a big collection, and whenever I went on eBay and there was like one of his top items up, it was always me and this one other guy were always the top two bidders, and we started talking because of it, and we became good friends out of it. And he lives in Alaska. I actually flew up to Alaska. We visited him, and he flew down here to Mass, and we showed each other our collection, and we talked about Sam, and he's the one I flew out to L.A. with and did all that in Vegas and stuff with, and met his brother. So I had him on the very first episode, and we talked about Sam. So, I mean, when you can find someone who loves, what you love as much as you do, that's probably, the best time you can have is, we're like two kids there just talking about Sam Kinison, and how we're such big fans in our collections, and so that's probably my favorite one.
It was also a tragedy, too, that Sam Kinison was killed in a car wreck on New Year's Eve, and it was in Peoria. Of course, he was one of my favorites as well, too. But if you're up on stage and you're asked to talk about the New England Patriots, what story would you make of, like, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, or anything about the Patriots?
Well, they're so good on the field that nobody could beat them on the field, so they had to come up with all this crap off the field, like Spygate and Deflategate, and try and beat them off the field. And, while everybody was trying to beat them off the field and kick them down, I remember the Colts one time, we had home field advantage in the playoffs, and they weren't happy with our muddy field, so they had the league. We had to put in new turf for the Colts, for the running game, and we went out and whooped their butts anyway, but whenever the haters come out, all you got to do is you pull out the championship rings, and when you got a handful of championship rings, that pretty much shuts everybody up.
and of course, you figure, too, that somebody would make a joke about the Patriots as well, too, and, of course, the Boston Red Sox. So if somebody tried to heckle you about the Red Sox, what would you say back to them?
How many rings your team got? And that ends the conversation right there.
Yes, I'll be definitely tuning into your Funny as a Clown podcast. And, of course, before we wrap things up here and tell us about your upcoming projects, where will you be appearing next? And tell us, once again, who will be featured on your Funny as a Clown podcast.
All right. You can catch me December 7th out in Las Vegas at Hooters. I'll be going out there to perform at Hooters, so come on down and see that show. Next night, I'm at Planet Hollywood. We got a big Hollywood party going on there, so I'm going to meet a bunch of celebrities there. Coming up on the podcast, we got, Curly Neal from the Three Stooges. His grandson's going to be on, and I was scheduling him. He actually called and left me a voicemail. It was one of the funniest voicemails I've heard in my life. So, he started out. I thought his kid had the phone for a second, then all of a sudden I realized it was him. Then he just eased into his regular voice from a kid voice. It was funny as heck. So, but yeah, like I said, check out my website, Joke in the Box Comedy Club, DennisWirth.webs.com. We're spelled with an I, and there's a link to my TV show. There's a link to my comedy. There's a link to the podcast. That's the home base for everything, and you can check out what I've been doing on there for years. And I'll just keep helping people out, helping great causes. You got a great cause, contact me, and I'm there.
That's great, too. And, of course, speaking of contact, how do they contact you? There's a link on my website, www.dennisworth.webs.com, and there's a link right to the left on the homepage. Says contact me. They can click that, send me a message, and we will get back to you. All right, that sounds great, Dennis. Thank you very much. You've been a blast to talk to, and look forward to having you on again soon, and love to come out and see you guys in the New England area and just knock them dead. Thank you, Mike. It's been a blast, and I hope to hear more of your podcast. It's been a great time. You've been listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios at themikewagnershow.com. Visit sonicwebstudios.com today for all your web design needs. If you would like to be a sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, call or text at 701-301-7705 or email to mike@themikewagnershow.com. If you're a listener and would like to support our program, visit themikewagnershow.com and click on the support button and donate today. Thanks for listening, and tune in again next time on The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com.
Congratulations, you've just been handed a huge new opportunity. Bravo. With it comes the need for new skills you'll need to master in short order. Every year, Harvard Business School Executive Education helps executives like you develop the hard and soft skills it takes to succeed in new roles. This is your chance. Go. Start by going to hbs.me/go. That's hbs.me/go.